Hi there, I'm Michelle Singh, and I want to welcome you to the Restful Teacher Challenge. Now, I created this challenge because I have been on the other side of burnout. I have been on the other side of dread. I have been on the other side of drained, okay? And I know what it feels like to be completely overwhelmed and stressed. I know that feeling of being pulled in thousands of different directions. And I know what it feels like when everything is all too much and my brain and physical body and spiritual being is at capacity. So I hope that you're able to gain practical insights from our guest speakers and fellow educators and professionals who will be sharing with you on this challenge. So thank you for joining the challenge, and let's meet our special guest speaker for today. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Restful Teacher Challenge. For our episode today, I am so thrilled to have Mr. James D. Williams join us. And James is well, I'm not going to say nothing. I am going to let James tell you a bit about who he is and the important work that he does within this world, both personally and professionally, because he is awesome, y'all. But I'll let him share it.
Wow, talk about an introduction that just leaves me completely inspired to create who I am in this moment. So, my goodness, my name is James. I am James D. Williams. You can call me JW, Jimmy, James. I'm known by many different names over a lifetime already. But I am, first and foremost, a human. I am a lover of so many different things, spirituality, mental health, energy work, somatic work, human design work. And so I love to learn, sort of calling myself a philosopher at this point. I love to learn a little bit about everything and other cultures and other things that people have been talking about since the beginning of time, and we are just now catching up. But before all of that, I am the founder of Somatic Relational Counseling, which is also now becoming Aligned LLC. I am going to be moving into more holistic and alternative coaching, as well as some part-time therapy and business coaching for mental health providers and wellness providers who are all looking to ensure that their business is in line with the missions and values and statements that they have. And that's, I'm like, ooh, that's who I am. That's just a little bit about who I am. I'm a lover. I'm actually in the process of becoming a yoga teacher. So I'm in a 200-hour yoga teacher training program. I am a somatic therapist. I'm a human design coach, and I just love being able to guide and lead others to their most authentic self.
All right, you talked about beautiful. I love how you started that you are a human first, because a lot of times we get so caught up in our work, we lead with our profession. We
Yes.
don't lead with the fact that I am a human first, or I am a lover, or I am an empathetic person, and I love that you started that way, because I think, and I know for me, that's something that I had to lean into, because I was always starting with, oh, I'm an educator. I'm this, rather than I am the human first. So I love that you started that way. I would love for you to tell us why should you do that? Why should you start defining yourself from the human perspective?
Ooh, literal chills. There's a story in that.
Oh,
So, back in 2020, we were all hit with the global pandemic that is known as COVID. And I was probably about 8 years into the mental health field. So I've been a therapist, or training as a therapist since 2015. I've been a therapist since 2017. And my entire journey is to change the world. That is what I know my purpose is here for. With that came constantly starting off with, my name's James, I'm a social worker. My
mm-hmm.
name's James, I'm a therapist. And because the mental health field, and there's an important space for this, so I'm prefacing this with, it's important to know these things, but this is also created for me limitations. So in the mental health space, when you're starting off to meet someone, when we're sharing about a case, we start off talking about, James Williams is a 32-year-old African American queer man of color who identifies with this. This is his trauma. This is his mental health diagnosis. This is his life story. And I noticed in those spaces, when we start off just with all the trauma the person is and who they are, we don't even know who they are. By the time we meet with them in that first chair, I'm already coming in with this preconceived notion that they are all of their trauma, that they have not dealt with their trauma, that they have not been in previous therapy before, right? So I noticed the first time we meet people, we start off with our profession, or we start off with our role as a family member, right? I'm a parent, I'm a son, I'm an uncle, I'm a this, I'm a that. Or we start off with our visible identities, right? I'm an African American male. Then we might start hitting some of those invisible identities, right? I have ADHD and depression when not treated. And I was like, that's all great. they're super important to know all about who I am visibly. But do you know me at an energetic level? Do you know my heart and my soul? And the answer is often 99.99% of the time, you have no idea that I love yoga. You have no idea that I've taught myself how to play every instrument that I have in my toolkit. You have no idea that I'm a poet. You have
Wow.
no idea that I'm writing a book. You have no idea that I have a podcast. You have no idea about this or that because you go straight to who do I see and what story can I create based on what I see.
Yeah.
So in 2020, when COVID forced us all to slow down, and I started trying to date. It's like, hi, my name's James. I'm a social worker. And it would be the visceral reaction, ooh, are you analyzing me? And I'm like, you can't afford me to analyze you. You can't afford my fee
Better
to
let me
analyze
know.
me. So I said, James, I said, who can you lead with? Right? Because it's very easy to pigeonhole myself into being a therapist or queer or black or this or that. But do you again know all of these other intimate things about me? So now when I started dating a little bit after, I said, don't lead with being a social worker. Start with just something else.
Hmm.
I'm a poet
Hmm.
today. Today I choose to be a poet. Do I write every day? No. Do I write when I feel inspired? Absolutely. Right. So that's a little bit about what really led me to start moving through the world, starting off with I'm a human first,
Hmm.
beyond my visible identities and the invisible ones that you don't know, but I get to choose what you know about me now.
Right.
Now
Okay.
I'm in the seat.
So and the reason I asked you that is because as we've been kind of talking to others, one common theme is coming up when it comes to joy and when it comes to embracing rest as part of your routine. You have to know yourself to be able to, because joy comes from within, right? So you have to know yourself, but you also for joy to feel the joy because you need to know what makes you feel that joy within, to feel those feels inside. It doesn't come from, because somebody told you to be happy, right?
Yes.
And not only that, in order to find the practices for rest that make you float, that works for you, you got to know yourself to see what aligns with you. So that's the reason I asked you that, because knowing yourself is important for joy and rest.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk a little bit about that? Because I see it's stirring up some things for you.
Let's say that one more time.
Knowing yourself is important for joy and for rest.
Hmm. So many things come to mind. And first, what I would say is the reason that it resonates so much with me is because it's hard in this world for anyone to rest. For any person to rest is a challenge. It doesn't matter who you are. We all were conditioned to be energizer bunnies. We're all in the same hamster wheel, the same rat race. Some of us may be on the treadmill a little bit longer, respectfully, right? But we all have been conditioned to get up and start your day with the first thing that you need to do. If it's a parent, that's the first thing you're expected to do. Start taking care of your young ones, right? If you're an educator, or if you work in corporate, if you work at all, it's what can you do to get your business right, or that thing going.
Very true.
And we don't know who we are outside of these things. We just don't. We are a teacher first or a therapist first, and we don't know who we are. And I've been in there. I keep saying this thing in my head. It's sometimes funny, but it's so true. I've been in therapy since 2008, and I've
Mm-hmm.
been in and out for over almost what is that? Almost 20 years. And the thing that I always kept coming back to at the end of any relationship was I found a new version of me, which was an old version of me,
Mm-hmm.
a part of me that was enjoying life before the age of 7. It's always one of those things I did before I was 7. Before I hit 7 years old, all these things that I loved doing were things that I was already touching, tapping into.
Okay.
And then after 7 years, there's sort of this cellular situation that happens, but it's also a conditioning thing that every 7 years, your body's going through a metamorphosis. But you always have to know that touchstone. I call it sort of like a touchstone memory of who I was when I was a kid who had freedom
Okay.
to experiment and play and create games and tell people I'm the lead teacher, you're my students.
Yep.
I'm going to give us a lesson on colors and dirt and mud and what to not do with
Yeah.
putting stuff on your clothes, right? Like, so I was a teacher before the age of 7, right? I wanted to be a social worker. I wanted to be the first Black president. And then Barack Obama came and it took my glory, but it's okay. I let that go. But I knew who I was by the age of 7. And then I forgot who I was because the world told me who I should be.
Ooh, wee. That is so deep and so true, because when we do go through therapy, we have to heal our inner child. And you talk about the freedom that you have when before age 7, before the world starts to make you conform, right? And you talk about freedom and playing and creating and just not caring about judgment,
Mm.
playing with mud because you want to do it. Like that's what we have to be able to tap back into to find our joy,
Yes.
to find the things that make us happy, because that was the time where it was void of judgment and we were just being who we were free to be.
Mm.
Right. And so I love that you said that after age 7 that we kind of conform to our roles in our work, our roles in our families, our roles in society, and we leave that, we forget that piece of us,
Get all about it.
and we need to kind of reconnect with that through therapy, because I don't think you could do that on your own.
You honestly, you should not. And I'll say this because this goes back to the rest and joy. Rest can be so many different things, right? We always think of rest as sleeping, and that's an amazing form of passive rest. I'm talking about active rest,
Mm-hmm.
right? The active rest of playing my instrument. I actually picked up my guitar yesterday for the first time since I started teaching myself guitar 2 years ago, I want to say. I practiced for maybe a month, but because I was working all the time, I couldn't play. I didn't give myself permission. I take accountability on that. I didn't give myself permission to play anymore. And so I put it down, and then that one broke, and then I got a brand new one. And I was like, I'm going to invest in my rest, right?
Yes.
Invest in rest. Please, people,
Yes.
invest in rest. And so I purchased a brand new guitar that was much more state of the art, that was much more sensitive to what I hear. And I played for 15 minutes. I looked at 3 chords, looked at the finger position of all 3 of them, looked at it, said, okay, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, almost like a melody in my head. And I put the sheet of paper away and I recorded myself just because I wanted to, I don't know why, I just felt the need to. So I just recorded myself and I played by ear
Mm-hmm.
the 3 notes, forwards and backwards, backwards and forwards, the same way I'd rehearsed it. And I heard a melody in it. And I was like, this is so soothing to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
for 15 minutes, I looked at a piece of paper, and then for 30 minutes, I just played.
Mm-hmm.
And that was rest for me.
Absolutely. I love that you talk about active and passive rest, because there's a difference. And that's the 7 forms of rest gives you an opportunity to embrace something that you connect with, you are aligned with, and something that you probably didn't even think was a form of rest, but it does something to your insides that make you feel at peace, that make you feel rejuvenated. And you might not feel the effect of it in the moment, but when you go to answer that email or that phone call, you're probably a lot more calmer
Yeah.
because you engaged. I know that that's happened to me a lot. I would have definitely approached something different had I not taken my little 15 minutes to go outside and be in nature and take that walk up the street to the park.
Come on now.
And let me tell you, I have to take my breaks during the day because the way these emails come through.
This is, I know
Yes.
our system is not the best. I'll
Yes.
preface, I know our system's not the best, but we have so much that can be working for us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did people know that you have to have a 15-minute break in your day, right? Like, and a lunch break,
Yeah.
certain jobs, you have to have these things.
Yeah.
And being in the therapeutic spaces, I would be the first one to, first of all, start my day on time and end my day on time. Absolutely. No, no, I was not coming in early. No, I was not staying. You
Yeah.
can ask any coworker of mine. They're like, James does not stay late. He does not come in early. He does not work on lunch break, and he takes breaks.
You have to honor that. You have to, because like you said, you wake up in the morning, you think about your kids, you think about your work, you think about how you're going to plan your day to serve others. You never think first for yourself. Like I get up. What do I need for me? Oh, I need to go spend 5 minutes outside and do some gentle stretching, right? Or as my dogs are doing their business, I'm out there taking in the fresh air.
Mm.
What do you need for you? You got to think about, and rest is a challenge, like you said. It's a challenge because it's not something that we're going to do naturally, because we are resisting rest, or because we're used to being the busybodies.
Yes, we
Right?
are.
And you have to be intentional about your rest. And that's why it's important to know yourself, because you have to be intentional about the type of rest you choose, because it must be the type of rest that brings you joy. It must be the
Mhm.
type of rest that is aligned with you, because if it doesn't, you're not going to do it. Like,
You're
I'm
not
not going to go run a mile because, listen, that don't align with me. But I will
right.
go take a brisk walk up the street to the park because I like looking at the trees and the nature as I'm walking.
It's
Right.
the feeling.
Right. Exactly. So you have to find those things that align with you. I love to create, like I do scrapbooking and those things, right? That's my creative side. But I can't draw. But I like to color.
And you
And
do
so
it.
I find those things that align with me that brings me that sense of peace, that that fulfillment, the makes me flow, where I can kind of lose myself in it, because that brings me the type of rest that I know I'm going to need if I'm going to be tackling
Something
school
major.
and relationships with folks and conversations, hard conversations, not so hard conversations, but I'm going to need to get myself right to be able to do those things. And the way to do that is through the rest that
The
you
rest,
yeah.
right? And you said something beautifully that I have to echo because I don't want this to be lost. It's what rest means to you. Because going to the gym at 4 a.m. is not going to work for James,
Oh no. Mm-mm.
right? But society will tell you if you want to be successful, 4 a.m., you need to be in the gym first thing. That's what works for that person. That's what made them successful.
Exactly.
That's not mean it's going to make you successful. If
Yeah.
your body doesn't, where the somatic piece starts to come in. Our bodies are energized according to what's before us. Majority of us, our bodies are energized according to what's in front of us. And so what that means is if I'm feeling a delayed response to wanting to reach my phone first thing in the morning, that's my body's signal of saying that's not the thing you should be reaching for,
Mm.
right?
Yep.
Or this is why we also have to practice the art of slowing down because we then go for coffee, but our body's actually reaching for the tea. But because we're so conditioned to get coffee the first thing in the morning, we're missing the body's cues on what's actually needed for that moment.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So I love that you said the phone thing, because that's something I struggled with. And I just, this weekend, I just came from Jamaica. So I was in Jamaica with my family, and my husband had to say, just turn the notifications off on your email. And I was like, I can't do that. I'm not and I just did it. I turned the notification so that red button did not show up. And so I felt so at peace because I didn't have like that urge to grab the phone to see if an email came in. And
Yes.
so now I never turned it back on, because I'm like, okay, when I turn my computer on, I'll just see the email and deal with it then. I don't have to worry about it while I'm in bed, because
Thing
what am I going to do at 10 o'clock at night?
that you can't do at
At
9
9
a.m. in the
o'clock.
morning.
Exactly. So I encourage you to use that off notification button, because it has freed me.
Listen, let me tell you the one thing. So I have been working as a travel social worker for a couple of weeks, and it's been helpful in me being able to do what I love, which is also travel. And it's something I started doing in 2020, and I didn't fully lean into it until the last 4 months. That my phone is always in do not disturb mode. It is in work mode from 9 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in bed mode from 7 to 7.
Yes.
Because these phones that we invest in
Yes.
come with so many amazing tools. Like we didn't spend $1,000 on the phone just to be
Right.
answering texts all day. It comes with protective features, right? So I
Yeah.
have other systems in place where it turns off all of my social media notifications are off and muted from 9 to 9.
Yeah.
And I have screen time that tells me when I'm going over an hour of social media, right? So these are free things that you can do, free, FREE things that you can do to start resting.
Yes.
Why
Because
should I jump at an
digital detox, yeah, digital detox is a serious thing. Like you absolutely need that, to especially for sensory rest. You
Yes.
absolutely need that. One other thing I wanted to throw in, and I as I was playing with those free features that you're talking about on the phone, I did set up those different, I have 3 different ones: do not disturb, work, and personal. And you can actually select the apps that you want on your screen when you're in that mode. So if you
Yep.
don't want social media during that time, you don't have to put the social media app. So like I have like in at nighttime, it's only my Bible app, my motivation apps, and the browser in case I need to look. Oh, and my notes app in case I need to write something down, like a thought, like a thought that comes to mind. Because
And
you can control,
control
what
what you're
so
doing.
you're not tempted to go back to the old.
Yes.
Right? I
So
love that
if
we're having
you,
this conversation.
it's so important. It's like because when I was working as an adjunct professor, well, I still am, but when I was teaching for the first time, and I had 2.5 hours to pour into my students, and then I had another class 2.5 hours, and I think I had 3 classes in total. And it was so important for me to be 1,000% present, just like I am as a therapist, right? So
Mhm.
when I'm in a chair and someone's investing their time and energy into healing, they get my undivided attention. And then I would notice that some of the apps would pop over on something, right? And then I'd
Mhm.
be mid-sentence, and then my phone would like ding, and I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
you get distracted.
And then
Yes.
right, and I'm disconnected from that person more than I need to be, and that I should be, right? And it's like, so I was like, how the heck do you turn all this off? So my initial reaction was just put everything on do not disturb and put my phone on silent. Well, there's a little bit of danger with that because things happening, right? You need to be able to have permission to, X, Y, and Z. And so I love that these phones, if you have a smartphone in 2024, you have so much privilege that it's not even laughable. I don't even know how to describe it. But you have so much access to rest than you would ever know.
Yes. apps. Talk about
Apps.
apps like the Calm app,
Calm app.
Insight Timer,
Oh,
lots of apps where you can just do the things that they suggest, or
yeah.
you can listen to the talks that they have, the meditations, the sounds. There's motivation apps that help you with affirmations. Like I have that. You know,
Yeah.
you want the spiritual, there's the Bible app. There's another app called Halo that is also a spiritual app. I mean, you can use your phone to help you rest.
Help you rest.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to
Absolutely.
help you keep track, like schedule your rest on your phone. Like
Yes.
you need those 15 minutes in the morning. You need, think of one of the things that also came up was you can rest during your transitions in your day. So in the morning when you wake up, during lunch, maybe after school, and then in the evening. So like, how could you schedule 3, 4 different types of rest to do during those transitions, right? And
Mhm.
you don't have to dedicate, like, you don't got to go to the gym for 60 minutes. It could just be 15 minutes. It could be like a 5-minute micro journaling session that you do with yourself to release the emotional pressures of the day, right?
And I know Otter app has that. You can, notes app, you can voice note yourself. You
Yes.
can literally hit the video button. Sometimes I do this where I drive from one location to the next. I'll hit the video record button. And if I feel inspired to say something, I'll just start speaking it. It's eventually things I'm going to be putting on social media. Well, it's almost like role rehearsal. So I'm getting comfortable with that app so that I can just do it normally. But
Yeah.
it's like these things don't cost anything, right? These things are just using your phone that we've paid so much money into to help us implement rest,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
being intentional. And
Absolutely.
listen, I'm a trial person. Give me a trial for seven
That part.
days. I'm gonna use it all up, deactivate it, wait for them to give me another promotion, do it again.
Yes.
But you know what I mean? It's like it's so
We can use
much.
them as tools. We definitely have these tools to use to help us be intentional about the way that we rest. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know this conversation was going to go in that direction, but I'm glad it did because we're talking about practical things here that will help for rest. But it goes back to how you started, knowing yourself, choosing the things that work for you because you know yourself, scheduling those things in your day so that you could be consistent every day because you need the rest to be able to serve and do the things that you do in your daily life. The way you give and give and give and keep giving to others. You cannot give to others when you're completely depleted, right? So I would love for you, James, to walk us through a grounding technique,
Mhm.
because this is one of the ways that you can also embrace rest. I know breathing, deep breathing is one of the ways that it really helps me. It kind of, it's like, I don't know what it does. For me, it's like, I feel really nervous and excited. I do my deep breathing consistently for a few minutes, and it's like it turns off that nerves, like the nervous system shifts.
Yeah,
I like,
we call it the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, right? So when
mm,
we are in fight or flight or freeze mode, that's that sympathetic response getting kicked on, right? So our
mm,
nervous system is anxious and
yeah.
ready to fight, ready like who we going to war with? Who on war, right? We like where's that? And then when we start to breathe, we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, and so we sort of learn to turn off that very alarm system that is causing us to be in panic,
Mm.
right? And breathing is the first free, it's free always. Literally, thankfully, no one can charge us to breathe for we have that tool so readily available to us. And then within grounding, it's very similar to mindfulness, except it's getting out of the head. And it's different than breathing because it's activating and using your body as an anchor, right? So this is something you can do with no one noticing that you're even doing it. And you can do it with your eyes open. It's
So
very easy.
So
It's
think
very
about the classroom. When you're in your classroom, when your students are, doing something, collaborative work or individual work, and you have that free moment, you can do this without anyone thinking you're asleep and
yes.
wanting to take pictures of you.
Right. And being like, look at my teacher. Like, so first off, I invite you to allow yourself to get seated in a comfortable position. And by doing so, allowing your feet to be placed firmly onto the ground, allowing your spine to be straight up, as if there's an invisible string pulling from the base of your spine all the way up through the crown. And allowing your breath to come in naturally, but fully. Breathing in through the nose, into the belly, and slowly blowing out as if through a straw or a flute. And on the next inhale, bringing both hands together as if you are simply grasping your fingers. And for camera purposes, you're seeing it, but this can literally be under the desk and no one even knows that you're doing it. And when you inhale, you need to lift your thumb. And when you exhale, you lower it down. Inhale, lift the pointers. Exhale, lower them down. Inhale, lift the middle fingers. Exhale, lower them down. Inhale, flash those rings. Exhale, lower them down. Inhale, lift those pinkies. Exhale, lower them down. And to deepen your practice, now you're going to go hand by hand. So now you're going for creative control over which hand you start with. That's your choice. And you're going to lift by pinky or thumb rather, one and then down, and then one pointer and then down, and the middle finger and down, ring finger and down, and pinky. And then do the opposite hand. Know that when you inhale, you're lifting, and when you exhale, you're putting down. And you can do this in so many different ways of just having fun with it and lifting both or nothing or going pinky or ring or middle finger. And what you're learning to do is to connect with your body first and foremost. Because do we do finger exercises? How many of us can control, right, one finger going up or not, right? And so we're so disconnected. And then sometimes we're like, wow, my fingers hurt, right? Maybe that's an indication. Take these rings off for a second, right? Maybe you have too many rings on for the day, right? And so our body is often trying to communicate to us something that our mind isn't catching on to. And traditional mindfulness and breath work is focusing specifically on other things, right? Because you're focusing specifically on the breath, or in mindfulness, you're focusing on getting in and out of the mind and you're practicing this. But with somatic practices and grounding practices, you are literally learning to communicate with your body in real time. And it's very different. It's the oldest form of mindfulness we can ever do. And what you're ending up doing is you're like manipulating just your fingers. You can do your toes. You can literally, you can take this and mold it into whatever way you want. But what you end up doing is you're sending down cues to your body that I'm present. Communicate to me something that I need to know that I wasn't paying attention to before. And now your body's like, ooh, we've been hurting over here in the lower back on the quad, right? We might need to go see our massage therapist. Or
Wow.
lower body's been hurting for 4 months, and now that you finally slowed down, we can tell. And so we can go check that primary care doctor out. And then you're also getting out of your mind because you're sitting there really focusing on your fingers. And you're like, I can't seem to get this thumb moving.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not paying attention to the stress before the day or the stress during the day or the stress that you're in. You're focusing specifically on just your fingers.
Wow. I did notice that I couldn't get my ring finger up without moving the other ones.
And then you get a little bit of humor with it because you're like, why can I get my ring fingers?
But yeah, it helps. I can see how this can help you identify areas that, well, okay, so we tend to feel the pain and ignore the pain because we want to get through the day. Can you hear me? My
Yeah.
dog stepped on the cord and my computer went blank and I thought I
Oh,
lost you.
oh, we're good. I heard you through and through.
So when we ignore the pain, this is allowing us to pay more attention to it because we've ignored it all week and it's only going to get worse. And when it gets to the point where we actually need to go to the doctor and we have to take off from work and we're being reactive rather than proactive, this is going to help us pay more attention so we can fix the problem before it becomes a problem, right?
Yes. Like
Wow.
we always say, and I love my teachers, and I felt this as an adjunct of like, I can't miss this class because as an adjunct, literally there's no one covering at all. So it's material that my students need to learn to become therapists, right? And then it's that obligation of like, well, I can't take off, but if I were checking in with my body a little bit more often,
Checking in with the
right?
body. That's it.
I wouldn't need to have a whole day off. I would just have taken a half day off maybe. And that half day off now will save me versus having to take a full day or a whole week off or a whole month off in a month from now, right? So what's more important, 5 minutes of rest now or 3 hours of or 3 days in the hospital later?
Oh my God. You better tell them, James.
Let's take these lunch breaks and these 15-minute breaks so we don't need to be in the hospital for 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Or you get past a certain age and that's when everything start acting up.
Crumble. And it's like, what? You know what I mean? It's like,
Late. Now you gotta
go through
Interventions.
insurance to try to get all these tests and all these things to help you because the problem is now a problem.
Now it's a big problem that you can't meditate your way through or take a night off through. You have to be on right? It's the medication now, and it's the whole life change. And it's like if we only knew how important rest now is for saving us for pain later, we would want to invest in our rest.
Invest in our rest. So on that note, James, if you could give one piece of advice to the teachers in our community about cultivating joy through rest, what would it be?
If I could give one piece of advice, it would be connect back with the things that lit you up as a child.
Ooh, love it.
If there was anything you loved doing before the age of 7, that's what you're supposed to be doing right now.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
the word right there. Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. Ah, the inner child, the healing, the joy. Yes, 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 yes. Oh my gosh, James. It has been such a pleasure. I mean, I learned so much from you in our little time together. Energy levels and somatic healing, and I mean, it's just a lot. Thank you for demonstrating the grounding work. And if anyone wants to connect with James, you can connect with him. His information will be in the description. So thank you for joining us on the Restful Teacher Challenge. I'm so glad you came.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
All right. So take care, everyone. And again, James, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for participating in the Restful Teacher Challenge. I hope you found our guest speakers' insights inspiring and practical. Take the time to plan and implement your joyful rest daily, and tell us about it in the community.